Hey everyone, welcome to the second episode of Backstage Pass. I'm Sarah Hicks. Hey guys. Where I really talk to some of my great friends in the music business and chat about what really goes on behind the scenes, what life is really like as a professional musician, and what goes on in the music industry, and lots of topics like that. So today we are joined by my friend Mary Bowden. Do we have you? She's coming. We're waiting for Mary. Hey, everyone. Yay!
Hello.
How are
Can you hear me
you?
okay?
Yeah, I can see you. I see trumpets in the background,
Yes.
as always. For those of you who don't know Mary, and you all should, we go back how many years, Mary?
20.
20. We're not going to talk about that. Okay. It's like we were like 5 years old then, right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So Mary is a prize-winning Yamaha artist. She's a trumpet player, has soloed all over the world. You are the founder of two chamber ensembles, Seraph Brass and the Chrysalis Chamber Players. Um, you're a recording artist, you teach, you're a professor, and you're married to a trumpet player and you play in duos with him. So it's like how do you keep track of everything that you're doing? Because that just seems like an overwhelming amount of stuff to me.
It's a lot, and it's just a lot of fun. You know, when I went on a career change in my late 20s, I just found that I started really thriving with the project mindset rather than just having the orchestral career of just, playing in an orchestra every week. So I really love creating my own projects, and a solo career is one portion of it. Seraph Brass, performing with my husband, and teaching. Those are all of them add together to a full career for me. So it's just keeps it exciting. I'm gonna take you off my stand here because I think your lighting looks really great. I have to ask you.
So this is my studio. I'm in San Francisco. And I have it's like it was a greenhouse in a Victorian mansion. So now it's all these apartments, but I have lighting like almost 180. So I'm lucky. I've got, the great Northern California sunshine. Um, yeah. So speaking of, you're saying that you have really diverse sort of approach to your career. So when you were a student at Curtis, which is where we met 20 years ago when we were five, did you imagine that this is what you would have been doing? And was this something you were aiming for, or is this something that you didn't learn in school, which I'm guessing you didn't?
I did not. When I was a teenager, I studied with a female trumpeter and in the Chicago area, and she really encouraged me to do more solo work and to pursue a solo career. And and I was listening to Sergei Kiryakov all the time, and it was something that I really wanted to do. And I'm not blaming Curtis for why I didn't pursue that. I just I went there, and my teacher was wonderful, but he did say, like, really the only way to make a living is to win a symphony job. And I come from a family of non-musicians where we work really hard and we pay our own bills. And I knew that I was on my own financially. So I just did whatever my teacher told me to do. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try to do an orchestral career, and just totally didn't do any of the solo stuff. I mean, I performed solos in Curtis Hall, and but I wasn't like pursuing it like I should have been, I think. And it wasn't until my late 20s that I had a rediscovery of what I really wanted to do. And that was actually in Richmond, where we reconnected, where you used to conduct, and I was there playing third trumpet. And one of my jobs to make a living was being an assistant artistic administrator in the office. And so I got to communicate with artist managers and really see what a soloist's world was like. And I started thinking, like, this is what I really wanted to do, but I didn't think I was good enough, and I just never tried. And so at that moment in time, I was kind of burnt out of just only doing, second and third trumpet and orchestra. And I was like, well, I might as well try for what I really wanted and just see what happens. And looking back, I'm grateful for my symphony life because I feel like I'm really knowledgeable as a teacher, and I still like playing in the orchestra when the opportunity, presents itself. I play with Iris once or twice a year.
Mhm.
And Artisphere, I like doing a few weeks of orchestra work. And
Right, but not as a permanent sort of thing.
yeah, and so I feel like a lot of maybe someone who's only focused on being a trumpet soloist from a young age won't have that symphonic experience. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm glad it worked out the way that it did, because I'm making the best of it now, and I'm smarter than if I had maybe just jumped in when I was 18 doing competition.
Mm-hmm.
So, everyone's path is different, and now I'm, 38 and making some really big breakthroughs as a soloist. And that usually maybe happens to someone 10 years prior. But I think that I'm okay with this journey because I'm a better teacher because of the orchestral life that I had before. So
speak to the teaching. You have like a huge experience doing that, but also you bring a lot of aspects of the music industry because you're, as you said, you're not just an orchestral player or a symphonic, a soloist or a chamber player, and you've experienced all of those and then forged your own path. So what kind of advice do you give your students, and how do you guide them when they tell you that they want to be a professional musician?
the number one thing is quality, and of course, making your playing as high level as possible. So maybe some students won't be ready to really put their stuff out on social media. Um, I can't imagine being a student at Curtis right now, going back in time and feeling the pressure of having to post practice sessions and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage students to really, really, while they're studying with their teachers, to focus on, getting better at their craft. And that's the number one focus always. And so that's what we focus on the most. And of course, while in school, really learning about how the industry works now, and that you will eventually, I think, have to showcase your skills on social media. I think you don't necessarily have to, but I think that it's in a musician's best interest to utilize the way the world is now, especially now when we don't even know when we're going to be on stage again. So,
Right.
It's our concert hall right now for the unforeseeable future is Instagram and Facebook and live streamed concerts, and we have to get over that fear of really putting ourselves out there. And for me, once I felt ready to really start showcasing what I could do as a soloist, I started putting my videos on YouTube, and that I spent about a year and a half kind of changing equipment and taking a lot of lessons with soloists around the world, and really putting myself out there. And I got my butt kicked by some famous teachers, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And I finally started to make some big breakthroughs after an injury I overcame. I got hit in the face by a Frisbee, and had to relearn how to play at age 30, right as I was signing with a manager and getting kind of a big break.
That's nuts.
And I did not tell the manager at the time that happened. I was like, I'm going to figure it out. I have 6 months before the first big concerto that I had, and I figured it out, and I had to relearn how to play. And that experience, again, made me a better teacher and a stronger player. I was able to learn how to play Brandenburg No. 2 after that. And so, yeah, I've had some crazy, unconventional experiences for the path of a soloist. And yeah, so you're back to your question of how to teach students and what am I telling them now. For now, we're just on the path of practicing and having great habits and just really fine-tuning their craft. And then once they're ready, they can start posting a few things. But in the meantime, really getting great at recording themselves and learning skills that they will need in the music world once they're out of school. And that those connections start while you're in school. And even as a teenager, I mean, some of the solo engagements that I've had are from musicians that I met when I was 15 years old. So
right.
And that very fascinating.
It's a small world, right? We all kind of know each other. It's really amazing. So you speak of, sort of pivoting when you were in your late 20s and looking for other ways to do things. And then even the story about getting hit by a Frisbee and needing to find ways to learn how to play again. And so that speaks to, I think, your resilience, which I would imagine is really important. And, tell me if I'm wrong, but I would say that still now as a female brass player, which is becoming way more common. But when you were starting out, it probably was less common. And what sorts of things have you encountered, if you did encounter them? And do you think it's changed over the course of your career?
I think I'm trying to think of who the big name when I went to Curtis. The only female trumpet soloist that I had heard of was BB Black,
Mm-hmm.
because mainly because she was a Curtis grad. I'm not sure she's still playing anymore, but I had her CDs, and so I really looked up to her. But I never met her, and then and then I saw Allison Balsam appear, and I started thinking like that's what I wanted to do, but it was cool to see a female trumpeter doing that. And then
Mm-hmm.
a few others have emerged since then, and it's still not a large number compared to the number of male trumpet soloists. I
Mm-hmm.
think that sometimes people say, oh, there's so many blonde. Someone said once, oh, there's so many blonde trumpet soloists, and I'm like,
How many
no,
blonde trumpet soloists are there? I mean,
I know 4, including me. So like, is that a lot? Like,
I don't know. I guess it depends, right?
yeah, and it's that comment to me is so funny because it's the same as saying there's so many brown-haired male trumpet soloists. Like it doesn't matter. So anyway, as a soloist, I just really try to find my own voice and fine-tune that. And I think being older now, I found my voice and I feel pretty confident about that. So now I'm really interested in commissioning new works for the trumpet. I just premiered a new concerto by Vivian Fung
I
with the
saw
Erie,
that.
and we're supposed to continue with 8 more orchestras, and we'll see how those all hopefully will get rescheduled.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's a little strange that I've had like this big moment in my career to premiere this piece, and now the world is shut down. But
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not super bummed out because I'm hopeful that at some point in my life concerts will resume, and so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one to be sad about, oh, I'm not performing, I'm sad. I'm just grateful for the time home right now and that I have a teaching income. With my husband has a teaching income, and we can spend time together, and I can catch up on sleep, and and also kind of think of new projects
Mm-hmm.
to keep myself motivated. And so right now I'm in that brainstorm mode. I know we were drinking coffee this morning, watching Chris Still from the Honesty Pill this morning.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Been trying to just brainstorm, if concerts all get canceled next year, what are we going to do
Mm-hmm.
to generate income and to stay relevant? And so I don't have the answers yet. I'm doing a Seraph Brass seminar in the summer, and you can't do a seminar every week. How do you replace
Mm-hmm.
concert income that you used to get every week?
Right, right.
It's pretty terrifying for us artists to have to figure that out, and I don't think any of us really have clear answers yet on how to really navigate this world.
I don't think anyone does. I mean, artists or otherwise, and I think that's really the challenge. And I don't know about you, but my cancellations and reschedules came in waves. So at first it was like, okay, everything through May, and then it was June, and then July, and now essentially it's through September, and I still have some holdouts for September, but we have no idea of what's to come. So given that kind of uncertainty, does that sort of, yes, we have to do these practical things to sort of find ways to generate income and to keep being artists, but does that reframe in your mind what it means to be a musician and to be an artist and what our roles in society are? I know it's a big question, but just take any part of that.
Well, Dave and I have been using it as an opportunity to share, and so I've been doing the 100 days of practice, and I've been involved in some virtual videos, and I have some plans for some more of that kind of thing. I know people are getting tired of that, but if they're really good videos, I think that I still enjoy watching them. Like I liked your newest video with Minnesota Orchestra with the singer. It
So
was
with
something
Dessa,
different. And if something like that is done very high quality, I still think that people enjoy watching those. So, we're doing that kind of thing, and also interviewing trumpeters every Friday, interviewing people that you don't normally get to talk to face to face because we're usually on airplanes or
Mm-hmm.
traveling a lot. And so I'm just taking advantage of the opportunity and turning it into a positive time rather than being upset about concerts being canceled.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm trying to think of ways that I can generate income for the musicians of Seraph Brass so they can
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
keep making some kind of income. So we've been brainstorming on, launching seminars in the fall. And I think as far as my role, I think that as musicians, we have to be very flexible minded and adaptable
Mm-hmm.
and resilient. That's a word that I think really applies to me. I've had a lot of situations that have been difficult, and I've thought of creative ways of, improving and just adapting to situations that we're given.
Mm-hmm.
And that's key for musicians, not just being able to play your instruments. I think, I was always very jealous of colleagues at Curtis who could just practice all the time. And
Right.
I had to go to work and
Mm-hmm.
work side jobs all the time so I could pay my rent. And I always thought that was a negative thing. But now that I'm older, I'm like, that wasn't, because I learned how to
Mm-hmm.
multitask and be efficient. And also I learned a lot of skills in those jobs
Mm-hmm.
that I'm using now to basically manage my own career. So that's another thing to keep in mind for young musicians, that, yes, all the hours in the practice room are great, but learning some other skills on the side isn't a bad idea.
Yeah, and very much required, I think, in the 21st century. I mean, how many orchestra jobs are there out there? And will there be out there after, this is over and we come out of the other side? What's that environment going to look like? And what's that landscape going to look like as an orchestral musician? So, what was once a sure thing, if you got a job in a top orchestra, you were set for life, but that's not so much the case anymore. I mean, we have friends in orchestras that have been furloughed, and these are huge, major, multi-million dollar ensembles and organizations. So I think it's really important what you're saying, to say that we do need other skills and to look at careers more globally. And I think that's really important. But I do want to get a little specific, because I'm really interested in this concerto that you did with Vivian Fung, and what that process was like, because this was created for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is really fascinating. So how involved with the process were you, and in contact during her compositional process, and what's that like?
Well, before she started writing it, I really emphasized to her that I wanted it to be collaborative, because I've had experiences
Mm-hmm.
with composers where I don't outline that clear enough and they just send me a finished piece. Like, we've had this happen in the quintet, and it's just completely unplayable, and then we have to
Mm-hmm.
kind of be like, that's not, we can't play, and then
Right.
um, so with Vivian, she had some ideas and she sent me some drafts, and she was really, really great in um, just letting me give her feedback on what really showcases my strengths. And so we did a lot of revisions, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm really grateful for her that she went with that, because the piece could have been unplayable, but I liked that she stretched the challenges, but then I was able to scale them back and tell her what works and what
Mm-hmm.
didn't work. And I think that we still might make some changes for future performances to make it even better. And so it'll become a piece that I feel really, really comfortable playing, but it also challenges me and showcases the strengths that I have. Like, there's some really
Mm-hmm.
crazy high piccolo things at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
piece, and so it was that was a really nice process to be able to be comfortable to give her a bunch of notes on
Mm-hmm.
what lies better on the trumpet, or what I want her to keep, because I'm like, I want to learn that and be challenged, because I want it to be something that also stretches
Mm-hmm.
my range and technical abilities as well. I mean, so that I stuck with some of the piece for a while and was able to learn some of the really challenging places that I wasn't sure I could learn in the beginning. But I like that journey of
Mm-hmm.
really digging into a new piece and being able to do things that you couldn't do prior to that piece. So
Mm-hmm.
it turned out really cool. It's like it has this really intense energy, and it's about 15 minutes long, and it's just like my parents were in the audience, and they're
Mm-hmm.
not musicians, and my mom loved it, and she was like, I was kind of nervous for you the whole time, the energy. But she loved it. She said it was very animated and just had tons of energy, and
Mm-hmm.
there's some hip hop elements in it, and so
Oh,
yeah, I'm excited to play it again, but also I'll have to wait for
right, right.
who knows
Yeah.
how long. And I see Chris still has asked any plans to record this. Yes, but again, those plans are probably going to have to be delayed. I really
Mm-hmm.
want to record a CD of concertos by women, including the piece by
Mm-hmm.
Vivian. There's another composer named Gina Moran from Mexico who's writing a concerto for me. And again, that process is going to be delayed because of this pandemic. And
Right,
it's actually
right.
going to be concerto for Duke, my cat. I'm not kidding.
That's
So
fabulous.
it'll include that. And then I also, I'm learning this Willick concerto for November, which is a crazy piece, the American concerto that was written for Doc Severinsen. And then there's a
Ah.
piece by Grace Williams that I want to record. So I have a plan, but like I kind of feel like I should hold off on the recording plans that I was making because it just
Mm-hmm.
feels like I don't want to make all of those plans and then I have to
Have them be
reschedule. So I
changed.
might,
Yeah, be rescheduled. Yeah.
I'm gonna sit tight and just see how things play out, and I might have to
Yeah.
make the like in 2 years or something and be patient. But the plans, it's definitely on my to-do list.
Which is great. So, recording, doing these concertos, doing solos, doing chamber music, playing in orchestras. So, do you approach they're slightly different kinds of music making, right? So, do you have like a switch in your head that says, okay, this is solo Mary Brain or this is ensemble Mary Brain? Is there a different approach you have to each element of your performance life, or is it all one thing?
It for me, it's very different, but I feel like I've been very flexible and being able to change. I call myself a chameleon. I know that some people just say, I want to play the solo, I want to be a soloist, and just because I love the repertoire and I just want to be a trumpet soloist, or I want to just be an orchestral player. And, I know so many great people that can do both. There's so many trumpeters that are very versatile that can do a lot of things. And so I like to see myself as one of those people where I will play second trumpet in an orchestra if it's a compelling week of repertoire that I really want to play.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a totally different job than playing Tomasi concerto. I
Right.
have to think about opening up my sound and matching the principal trumpeter and
Mm-hmm.
blending. And also, if I'm playing principal trumpet in an orchestra, depending on the repertoire, I have to make sure that I build up to that week because there's so much more sound that I have to produce from the back of the orchestra, and the articulation is a bit different. Um, and sometimes when I switch back to solo trumpets, sometimes I find that I'm like playing like an orchestral player, and I have
Uh-huh.
to catch myself and kind of make sure that I'm switching uh, in a way that I want. And then there's also the quintet, the brass quintet
Mm-hmm.
tours. That's the hardest type of playing, I think, because you have to play with the intonation of four other people on brass
Right, right.
instruments. And where I find that solos with piano are much easier than the quintet, but the quintet has made me really strong. If I'm playing Brandenburg Concerto, I've learned that if I just keep that concerto in my morning warm up,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the healthiest player to play in any situation. I know that sounds very strange, but like I did that as an experiment for a few months, and I
Mm-hmm.
felt like the healthiest I've ever felt. And so now I'm trying to work that
Interesting.
back in my routine to see if that works again now that I am caught up on sleep. And
Mm-hmm.
so I've been like kind of putting that in my warm up, and then eventually once I can play through it, I want to try to do like a Brandenburg challenge of like maybe playing it through in the morning and then seeing
Mm.
how my days go with the rest of the preparation for the concertos that I'm learning. So
So what are you learning? Are there pieces in the repertoire that you haven't played that you're just like gunning to learn and perform and yeah, and maybe there are things that you've already performed that you can't wait to perform again. So tell me some of your favorites, things you want to do and have done.
Vivian's piece is still very challenging, and I want to make that comfortable. That's my goal this summer, is to really get the muscle memory, because I didn't get to finish draft of the piece until 2 weeks before the premiere. So it went well, but I feel like it didn't have the muscle memory quite yet. I need couple months, I think, for a piece of that difficulty. And the same with this Willa Concerto is a brand new piece for me. I haven't started it yet, but I'm really grateful that I have all summer now to really dig into that piece. It's really, really crazy too, but I'm excited because it's completely new. So I think those two pieces will keep me pretty busy. I want to learn I want to make some new piccolo arrangements with Dave, and also I want to find some new song cycles to play. I've been kind of repeating the same recital repertoire the past couple of years, and so I want to start digging into some new repertoire and just find some new inspiration. And then I've been also like making a list of the weaknesses in my playing, and so I've been working on a lot of etudes and exercises. I mean, I haven't played etudes in forever because I'm usually just playing on the repertoire that I have coming up. Right. So I've been doing a lot of etudes, which has been really nice because it's been just such a long time. I've been playing etudes that I hadn't played since freshman year at Curtis.
Rediscovering them. That's so great. So speaking of Dave, you're married to a trumpet player. How many trumpet players are made of trumpet players, first of all? Second of all, you guys play in a duo together. So literally your professional and personal lives intersect like all over the place. And so what's that like?
We love it. I mean, we are pretty big trumpet dorks. Although you'll see on my Instagram, Dave has been playing this like exercise where he takes out his lead pipe, and it's the most annoying thing ever. It's like the call from hell. And so I've been hearing that 20 times a day, but we've been making a joke out of it so I can at least laugh about it. We practice separately most of the time. But then we like to play duets at the end of the day to build endurance. And then we work on repertoire together. And then sometimes we play for each other. But when I was traveling, we were not seeing a lot of each other. I mean, this is the longest stretch. We met in 2008, and this is the longest stretch that we've been together. So it's been nice. It's been really nice. So it's when it's before this happened, when I was touring, we formed the duo because we liked playing together and we wanted to see each other more. And so why not meet on the road? And so I've started a collaboration with the Casilla Ensemble, which is a string group in Pittsburgh, and we've been doing some tours. I hired them for my last CD, did photos with them, and so now I've been promoting that as a package for presenters, trumpet and string quartet or string quintet, and it's been booking really well. Next season, hopefully it won't get canceled, but it very well might. We're supposed to do 25 concerts in February and March.
Wow.
Across the Midwest, and so I've been able to tag Dave onto those concerts because people like the husband and wife team, and it was really easy for me to change my arrangements for 2 trumpets and then add some pieces. So we just find ways to play together so we can be on the road and actually see each other. I'm sure you know that's like with your conductor life of always traveling and flying, and we're just trying to be creative and find ways that we can see each other. And especially since I started teaching at a conservatory that's 5 hours away from where I live. That was another thing that I added to my schedule this year.
That's it's pretty remarkable. So like, how do you keep track of schedule? Do you have an agent who does booking for you? Do you do it yourself? Who keeps your schedule? Who says yes or no? How much can one person do? I mean, that's always the question I ask myself. I was on the road 38 weeks last season, and that was way too much. So what is too much for you, and how do you keep track of it?
So I had a manager up until last year, and I decided to part ways because I was booking a lot of the work myself, and I felt like I'm looking for someone new. It'd be great, but I wanted to make sure it's someone who has the right fit, who's the right fit. And I wanted full control over how the consortium was going to work out. So I actually ended up hiring my amazing publicist to essentially act as my manager. And she made this huge spreadsheet of orchestras, 800 orchestras, and did all the outreach for me because I knew that I needed help.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I do a lot of the admin work for Seraph Brass, which is about 20 to 30 hours a week. And we have an assistant helping us now, but I still do most of the stuff. And it was too much.
Mm-hmm.
And so hiring my publicist to help me with the consortium was like a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
I was already like so tired. So she
Right.
helped with a lot of that admin work and keeping track and doing like outreach for my CD. It would cost money, but it was worth it. It was definitely worth it. And so she's still helping me out in that way. And right now of course, I'm not reaching out to any orchestras or bookings
Mm-hmm.
because of time. And I'm a little crazy with my schedule. It's all like in here. I've been keeping on the Google Calendar, but Dave makes fun of me because I have things memorized that I have like a year from now and the time.
Right.
So it's kind of all in my head and it's a little crazy. And so I'm the one that says yes to everything, and I tend to say yes to everything.
Right.
Which maybe is a problem. So it's crazy, you know. I have to always make sure practicing comes first.
Right.
And,
Right.
For me, sleep was coming last, and I started working with a performance coach, Don Green, and he was like, "You have to sleep. Like, you are so used to succeeding with just being exhausted. You know, I can play Brandenburg 2 with a migraine. It's fine." But he's like, "You're getting a little older. It's not sustainable. You have to change some of your priorities." And so he really helped me with that. And well, of course, now I have to sleep because I'm home. So it's been sleeping like 12 hours a night. But now my goal is, once the world reopens, my goal is to really look at offers carefully and make better decisions, and don't say yes to absolutely everything, just things that I really, really want to do that make sense, and to find a manager that can help me with things, because I think that I do a lot of the work myself, and so like it works fine, but it's like, you know, it is nice having like some kind of assistant or some help with the administrative work that goes into answering all the emails and looking over contracts. And yeah, it's crazy.
It's a lot. It's really a lot. So how does self-care come into this? And obviously you're having time to sleep now, which is great, but with a busy life, how do you really take care of yourself? Because as you said, that's really an important component of being a musician, is because, you know, ourselves, we are our art. That's how we create what we do. So we have to be in a place where we're able to do that. So what do you do for yourself?
Well, this past year, it was, I wasn't really great with the self-care. I'm not gonna lie. I was reaching a point of just like complete exhaustion, like falling asleep while in line at the airline counter, you know.
Yeah.
But I was able to still perform really well, and so I wasn't worried. But I definitely was like not as healthy as I could be. You know what I mean? Like I felt like I was doing my jobs well, but you know, now that I have time home and I'm sleeping, like I'm sounding even better, and I'm like, oh, I can play. I can really improve fast if I sleep. So I'm going to take that into account when things reopen, just making sure that I turn the devices off at night. That was also a huge game changer. Working with Don Green was just turn off all devices like an hour before bed, and I was operating so much better after getting that advice. But you know, at a normal traveling for me, I have a talent of being able to sleep anywhere.
Oh, that's great. You're so lucky.
If I'm really tired, like I have like a pillow setup that I do, like at the airport, I find like a portion of the ground that where no one is, and I set up camp and I just go to sleep for 2 hours. And I do that before concerts, and it's been like an ongoing joke in Seraph Brass. Oh, Mary's sleeping, let's take a picture of her, you know. I'll like
That's such a great skill though, because you never know when you're going to be able to get some rest. And if you do have those spare moments, I mean, if you can just conk out, I'm jealous. I wish I could, because that's a really great skill.
Those 10-minute power naps are like really a game changer for me, just to be able to like shut my eyes for 10 minutes and then wake up when I feel like a completely new person.
Mm-hmm. Super, super key. So last question here. If you were not a trumpet player, Mary, what would you be doing? What other passions do you have that you might have pursued that you could see yourself doing? Or is this it? Is music it for you?
I mean, I think I'm capable of doing a lot of other things. But looking back when I picked up my trumpet, it was I think I kind of knew. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that I made this decision in my head came at age 12 or 13 that I was pretty serious about it. And that's why I did this. I had a very unconventional way, a schooling before Curtis.
Mm-hmm.
I dropped out of eighth grade. I begged my parents to drop out of eighth grade, and I went to community college instead
Mm-hmm.
of high school. And I got to choose my own classes and my own hours, and got my associate's degree at age 16, and then did a customer service job for a year after that full time so I could save money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was all so I could practice the trumpet more, and so I could control those hours. I didn't want to stay in high school and go to school all day. I wanted to just utilize the time efficiently to practice as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, like, community college made sense because it's the same classes as high school, and
Right.
you get them done in a semester. And some semesters I would cram all my classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and was just able to spend a lot more time on the trumpet that way. Yeah.
That's
So
really
if
remarkable.
I wasn't doing that, Dave says I would be a great artist manager, but I don't know if that
Mm-hmm.
still counts as being a musician.
I think that's still in the industry, although those are separate skills. But you've done so much admin stuff as well that you have the other side of the industry, not just from the performance side, but from really the booking and the promotion and all that. So that would probably be a huge skill. But I think you seem to be a person who found their passion really early, pursued it from, the age of 12, and sort of found your way and within the industry, and found your niche and found ways to really be creative and to be you, which I think is probably the most important thing, I think, as a musician or artist, is to find your unique voice and be able to share it with the world. And it feels like you have. So it makes me happy to see my friends succeed, and it really makes me happy to see what you're up to. And yeah, well, thanks, Mary. It's been really fun chatting with you. And I'm gonna, keep listening to your practice sessions, which I put on sometimes, which are totally fun. It takes me back to when Paul, my husband, used to practice the French horn. So yeah, it really takes me back. Yeah. Thanks, Mary. It's been really, really great to see you. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and hope you got some insight into this wonderful artist and my great friend. And hey, good luck with everything.
Thank you, Sarah.
All
Say hi to
right.
Paul.
I will. All right. See ya.